Well, thank you, everybody. I'll be up here later, too, doing a completely different job, so just bear with me. My candidacy for the Public Utilities Commission was really born out of a couple things. One was a deep sense of frustration. A sense of frustration about the energy policy that our country is under right now, as well as the energy policies here in South Dakota. But it was also born out of a great sense of optimism. Because I know that in South Dakota, we have what it takes to turn a corner in our energy policy if we simply have the will and peer to make that happen. You know, we read a lot of studies out there. We find out that South Dakota is the 4th windiest state in the nation, yet we're 26th in actual wind production. And that is simply unacceptable. We need policies in peer that are being guided by the Public Utilities Commission that is going to make wind energy a reality in South Dakota. And it's not simply a matter of throwing up some wind turbines around the state. We need a comprehensive plan as to how we are going to integrate this system onto the grid we have while pushing for new innovations in the grid at large. And it's going to take people in peer who are willing to sit down with the co-ops and with the big energy companies, and instead of starting from, you know, how is it that we can get wind energy in South Dakota, we start from the place, wind energy is coming to South Dakota, how can we make this work? And that's what I want to do when I get to peer and fight for everybody here. The Public Utilities Commission is first and foremost a consumer advocacy group. And I would say that over the past decade or so, they've lost sight of that role. They've bent to the will of large energy companies, large phone companies, at the expense of not only our rural co-ops, but consumers all across the state of South Dakota. And we need to change that. We need to make sure there's someone in there every day who is looking at the issues that come before the PUC through the lens of how is this going to affect someone in Sturgis, South Dakota? How is this going to affect their bill? How is this going to affect their service? And that's the kind of Public Utilities Commissioner I want to be. You know, when we talk about wind energy too, we're not simply talking about a solution to the energy crisis that we have in this country. Because for every turbine that goes up out there, you're going to need people out there to manage those wind farms, to fix those wind farms, to, on an everyday basis, maintain those wind farms. We're literally talking about an entirely new economy for South Dakota. You know, I was driving out from Sioux Falls yesterday, and on the interstate, there's this great big billboard. And it's a company that makes wind turbines. And right above it, the whole billboard is now hiring. That company is in Minnesota. That company could be in South Dakota. That company could be in Sturgis, South Dakota. But we need the leadership in peer, and we need people who are willing to work with Tim and Stephanie in DC to change the way we do business in South Dakota. You know, I got a call the other day from a woman in Pierre, just outside of Pierre. She's a producer out there, and she was getting together her home heating oil for the winter and figuring out her expenses. She's going to pay twice what she paid last year to heat her home this winter. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable when we have a ready-made power source blowing all around us in this state. It's unacceptable that we have had an administration in Pierre that has done nothing to encourage wind energy in this state and simply let things fall by the wayside. Right now, the largest wind farm in the state of South Dakota is in Highmore, South Dakota. It's almost wholly owned by Florida Power and Light. Now, you don't have to look any further than the ethanol industry in South Dakota, which was built by producers in this state, who invested in these plants, who got this up and running and moving. Those producers have made a great deal of money off that. That's money they invested in South Dakota, they got back out of the plants that they're going to reinvest in South Dakota. And we can do that again with wind energy. You know, we look around at a myriad of different